Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Produce Your Podcast channel, where we serve tips, resources, and videos to help you grow your business and your brand through the medium of podcasting. So, today we're going to do a little bit of a big picture video and talk through how we set goals for our podcast, what you want to be considering when you set podcast goals, and a little bit on terms of clarifying the path of how to reach them. So, number one, if you are launching a show or if you have an existing show, meaning podcast, that is meant to support your brand, I want you to think about kind of three categories of things, right? Number one is visibility. Number two is leads or prospects, whatever term you prefer to use. And third and finally is sales. And so, what we want to do as a first layer is ask ourselves, as it stands right now, if we have an existing podcast, how is the podcast supporting my visibility? Is it supporting my visibility? Might be a good question as well if you feel like it's not quite there yet. And I want you to just jot down the first couple things that come to mind for you. What's working really well in terms of using the podcast to increase your visibility? And what do you want to see if there feels like there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be in terms of your visibility? So that's number one. Now, layer two, we talked about leads. Now, there's two parts of this. Number one, there's the generation of new leads and building up your pipeline with your podcast. But there's also the nurturing process of existing leads. So, for the people that are already in your pipeline, how is the podcast supporting them? And spoiler alert, it should be supporting them. Your sales reps should be sending podcast episodes. Your prospects should be tuning into your show, right? You can use your episodes to answer prospect questions. I won't pull you so much into the weeds there, but just know there's a lot that you can be doing. So, based on all of that, I'm going to challenge you through the same exercise. If you have a show already, what role is the show playing in terms of new lead generation or nurturing leads currently? And if the answer is I don't know, that is more common than you might think. Totally a fair answer because either way, it is giving us some clarity on where do we need to focus and how. Okay. And third and finally, sales, revenue. So again, you can look at this in a couple different ways. Think through what matters to you, what you want to do, what you are doing, whatever. Number one, certainly booking things like consultations, having people come through your sales funnel and letting you know that they listened to the show. Maybe an episode made a difference for them, and so they booked that meeting. Lead source tracking, asking them where they found you. So you could do some direct client growth through your podcast. Similarly, you can actually drive revenue through things like sponsorships and brand collaborations, ads within the show. For some brands, that works really great for. Other brands don't want to do that. There's no right or wrong answer there per se. But again, it matters what matters to you. Now, again, same exercise when it comes to sales and revenue growth and actually monetizing your show. What's working really well? First gut reaction, go ahead and write that down. You can pause this video if you're doing this while you're watching. And secondly, what do you want to see through the show? So we have our three categories, right? We have visibility, we have leads, and we have sales. Now, what I'm going to challenge you to do, because the answer looks a little bit different for every show, I want you to go back to either the team, the agency, whatever, who is helping you with your show. And I want you to talk to them about the gaps that you're seeing and see what resources they have available to help you set those goals, right? Go through all three categories. Now, it is important to note that not every podcast person is also specializing in these areas. But if you have a team, I want you to check that first, because if there's resources or support that you're not utilizing with the team or agency you're working with, great. Get started with them. They already know your show. You're already in a workflow. Leverage that first. But if not, then you have very, very specific gaps. The number one thing, and again, my role in the company is a lot of business development and marketing, getting the word about Produce Your Podcast out there, helping convert on the back end, things like that. And, we find time and time again, and PYP has been here since 2016, so we've been at this for a while. Not everybody knows what they don't know. I know that sounds really funny to say. You just don't know what you don't know. So when we talk about goals and we say, okay, what do you want to see out of your podcast? When we're talking to businesses and brands, a lot of times they'll say, well, I want the show to grow, or, I'd love to see maybe some business impact from it. We have to get really specific about what that means in order to either support you or recommend the type of team that can support you, right? Sometimes it's things like production quality is actually suffering. So the content might be good, but it's not great to listen to. So that is something that we need to address, right? That impacts all of your opportunity to drive visibility, to drive leads, to drive sales. If there's a lead problem and you're like, listen, like people that listen to the show, they're coming in, they're talking to us, but we just need more of them. That's where we need to say, okay, what is the gap in terms of lead generation? How are we approaching the marketing and the SEO optimization and the audience engagement to drive that? And let's build out that strategy in a strategy session, right? Let's talk through your calls to action. Let's talk through all of the parts that make up the episode that get people to get closer to you. And then finally, sales. So believe it or not, you can drive sales. It's going to require you to be booking consults, so that connective piece between leads and sales. But also, if you are pursuing sponsorships and you've just found that it's been a little bit of an uphill battle, there's probably a better way to go about it. So I'm giving you kind of a lot here because I want to give you a jumping off point of what should you focus on? How are you talking to your support team or support teams about this, or identifying who you need to help you? But above all else, if you are setting podcast goals and you are a business or you are a brand that's utilizing this show to boost yourself in some way, shape, or form, part one, visibility, part two, leads, part three, sales. Gut reaction, what is working well so far? What do you want to see? What is that gap? And then get with someone who can support you in doing that. It's going to be really important to get specifics. You can ask for what you need. Any agency will ask you questions. They're going to try and nail into it, but the more empowered you can come to that call, the better. And so use this video as an opportunity to help you empower and advocate for yourself so you can navigate those conversations better. Now, of course, I would be remiss because you're on the Producer Podcast YouTube channel. Reach out to us if we can help you with this. We specialize in business branded podcasts. We have worked with lawyers, we've worked with authors and speakers and wealth management and coaches and consultants, all of the things. All of those clients are using their podcast to support their brand. We have built out visibility and guest strategies. We have built out lead generation and nurture strategies. We have built out the sponsorship and the direct client conversion strategies. And our clients are doing really amazing things with all of that. If you want to hear more about that, stay around, check out the rest of our channel, head to our podcast, head to our website at producerpodcast.com. We've got so many testimonials and client stories over there. And we would love for you to be the next success story as well. So reach out to us, peruse the channel, peruse our website. If you need anything, give us a shout. We would love to support you. Happy podcasting. Thank you.